What's up, y'all? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Thank you guys so much for being here. I know that you could be listening to anything else, but about 20,000 of y'all a month keep listening to me for some reason. So I am truly, truly grateful. And as you guys know, I go around this amazing planet finding the best humans I can find to come on here and grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. I found a really cool dude, so I can't wait to introduce him to you. His name is Ksy Williams, and he's an innovation draftsman and an expert at failure. So am I, Ksy. So am I. And he guides you in the art of self-innovation with biblical wisdom to help you design, build, and have a fulfilling life. And I love that. Ksy, I was telling you a little bit before we got on, but you know, I'm a Christian, right? So I'm a failing Christian. I fail often, right? But I love that. I love that. You know, you're coming out here and you're not afraid of who you are, and you're also not afraid of your belief system and what you're standing on. And I think that that is something to admire. It really, really is, especially in this time that we're in right now, in this culture that we're in, where there's so much pressure. I love that about you. So, Ksy, welcome to Straight Talk. I'm so glad you're here.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad you're here. And listen, the way I like to start the show is because I know that I have a really great audience. My audience is always asking questions, sending DMs, you know, emails, all that great stuff. So I want to have them know a little bit more about you. So my first question always starts off with, who are you? So who is Ksy Williams? Who is he?
Yeah. Well, I'm a Texan Okie. So I was raised in Texas, born now in Oklahoma. Christian that just loves to motivate others. And I want to inspire younger generations that there is fulfillment in Christ, and that they can have a fulfilling life. They can have a great life, even in the ridiculous times that we live in today in America, especially. That I love encouraging others in that aspect, that we have so much to hope for and look forward to, and helping you get to that kind of that moment where you're at peace and you love your life.
Yeah, that's so important right now, Ksy. Really, it really is. Voices like yours are key right now, right? So I'm glad that you're going on podcasts and doing this kind of stuff because, like I said, you know, Christ changed my life. I mean, completely just changed my life, right? So I get it. I get it, and I know how important it is, but I also know how challenging it is, right?
Yeah.
So but you know what? It's like that thing, you know, like when Christ is with you, you know you can do all things. You really can, right?
Yeah.
So it's beautiful that that's what you've chosen to do, and I love that you are focusing on the youth and the younger community.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly who needs it really right now, right?
Right.
So tell me about that. Why? Right? So why was your faith always a center of your life, or was it something that you know you kind of struggled with for a little bit, and you understand the struggle? I mean, like, tell me a little bit about your youth and about your faith system.
Yeah. So as far as, well, I guess there's two sides that I'm going to go with that. One, growing up, I was born, you know, raised in a Christian household, all of that. Got saved at a VBS when I was 8 to 10 range. I can't remember exactly. Baptized and all of that. And then the teenage years came along, and then I started getting more, I don't know what the word is, but, you know, that became more problematic as a teenager. You know,
like all of us.
Yeah, being an obedient child was a little bit harder.
Yeah.
And so I never like went away from the faith or anything like that. But, you know, it just got more challenging. And then sort of rededicated my life. I think it was my junior year, and kind of just like refocused. And then ever since then, I've been on a very slow climb to just understanding more, actually taking my faith seriously. And to the last couple of years, I've been and been blessed to be at really good churches, teaching really good theology, to be able to really understand a fullness of, you know, how we should apply God's wisdom to our life.
Right.
And so about that same time that I sort of rededicated my life, at that 16 or 17 year age range, I was in the Future Farmers of America, or FFA, in Texas. And I went to the state convention, and Les Brown, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of.
Oh, yes. Love Les. Yeah.
I got the privilege to get to hear him speak in person. And after he was done, I was just like, I want to do that for the rest of my life. I want to be a
Right.
motivational speaker and go inspire kids like he inspired me. And so from that age, I wanted to be a motivational speaker, but I was doing my expert at failure. I was gaining my expertise in failure,
Yeah.
never really focusing on anything, all of that. And over time, after trying to, get rich quick schemes and invent things, start websites, YouTube channels, all of this stuff, the Lord finally settled me down and said, like, just focus on one thing.
Yeah.
And I found a lot more peace with that when I was just going after the one thing that he had set before me instead of worrying about all the others. And they still come into my mind, but, I just stay focused. And it was a blessing, because if I would have started being a motivational speaker at 16, teenagers don't know that much. I still don't know that much. But it also would have been a mindless, like, fluff motivational.
Yeah.
And because of the theology I've been blessed to learn recently, I've been able to develop a message that actually is beneficial, that is actually grounded in something that's outside of my own wisdom, my own thought process, which is grounded in the Word of God, and far surpasses any of our ability to reason anything. And so now that I'm actually, pursuing that in light of actually having a good theology towards how to speak to others, what do they actually need, I think it's been a good thing that the Lord kept me away from actually pursuing it until I was more ready.
That's so good. And I'm glad you said that, because that happens to a lot of us, especially when we're out here trying to spread, God or positivity, or, encouraging others. You do get caught up in too many things, right? You get caught up in too many things because you're trying to figure out what this means. How do you navigate this, right? I'm glad that you are diving into theology, because really good theology is a solid foundation. That's going to get you far, right? Because the word is just the word. The word is the word. Like, that's what it is, right? So once you start to learn the word and you start to really, be solid on your theology about the word, God will take care of the rest. He will, right? So have you gotten opportunities to speak yet to an audience, or to the youth? Have you been able to step into that Les Brown idea that you have?
Somewhat, mostly through church. I've been able to speak to kids at youth, or I've filled in and talked to some, I don't know, like pre-teenage area, the pre-teens ages, and really got to flesh out my what I call the codes of self-innovation, which is sort of that motivating them to pursue these 5 qualities that I think are important, but laying out that I'm not just coming up with these, these are things that I found in scripture that are very important.
Yeah, that's really good. And so you already are basically building out a system for them. You're already building out a system for them that they can go to, right? So that they can say, well, Casey said, I don't know what some of them are. I'm just going to pull up one out the air, like being a person who is honorable, right? Or honors their mother and father, or, things like that, right?
Yeah.
So if you pull something like that, at least they can, because, you were a teen, I was a teen, we're kids. We did a lot of things we shouldn't have done, right?
Yeah.
But I really do believe that when you grow up a child, or you put him in the word, it doesn't fully leave them, even in their nonsense, even in their nonsense. I raised my kids Christian as well. And for a couple of years, one of them was like, I don't believe in God. God is not real. He went through that teenage phase. It was very tough for me as a mom who believes in God. But I never faltered in my belief system. So that held strong for him. And now he totally believes in God and prays all the time, and
praise the Lord.
all of that great stuff. Yeah. I know. Praise God. But I say that to say that what you're doing is impactful for generations, for a long term,
Mhm.
you know, because when you can get them when they're a little younger and you can speak to them in a way that they understand, then it's
Mhm.
not just fluff, you know,
Yeah.
it does start to really weave themselves into their whole belief system, into their characteristics, into their, attitude towards life, so that's really awesome. Are you enjoying that?
Yeah. No, it's very fun to try to do that because being part of the youth group, I get that opportunity to like listen to their conversations afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and we got a small group, but it's fascinating kind of hear one to kind of step back in time and think the things that are important to them,
Mm-hmm.
being in high school, but also just wrestling with like just like how do you go about what's the right way to go about dating, or how do I find a job that I actually like, what college
Right.
degree do I go for, um, and just trying to sort through their life.
I love
And
that.
it's fun to be able to hear that and then actually have that personal experience that we can try to give them that wisdom of how to navigate that.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm. I love that though, because what you're doing is you're helping them in real life, like in things that
yeah.
we have to do while we're here on this earth, right? And that's
Mhm.
that's really there's a beauty and a talent to that. And the reason I say that is because you can just be spitting out Bible verses at them all day,
Mhm.
right? And some of that is going to stick, but some of it will not, right? But if
Yeah.
you are living where they are living, dating, where I'm going to work, what I want to be when I grow up,
Mhm.
those things that are really important, right, to us
Yeah.
as people, as humans, then that sticks a little more. Like I'm
Mhm.
sure that you I don't know if you do, but I'm sure you probably have a teacher or have heard of a teacher that has impacted a person's life in a way that's
Mhm.
that's lasted them their lifetime. You know
Right.
what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's because that teacher didn't just say 2 plus 2 is 4, but
Right.
actually got involved with the person's desires, wants, ideas, right? Things like
Yeah.
that. So that's really cool. So was there a reason why your heart was really tugged towards the youth, instead of like maybe just a room full of entrepreneurs or adults or anything like that?
No, I think it's because when I want to be more encouraging, um, and I have a background in inventing things,
Mm-hmm.
so there's definitely um, I've learned a process of how to create something from scratch and
Oh, that's
test it
good.
and all of that. So that's definitely a crowd that would be interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as youth go, I've been there
Mm-hmm.
more recently, and I mean, like I wouldn't want to go speak to a bunch of parents because I have a 4-month-old,
Right.
um, and so
So
it's like
cute.
I'm not very not much of an expert at the moment,
Right.
uh, and but also you hear the news stories and everything and just
Yeah.
how depressed and
Yeah.
suicidal high
Yeah.
schoolers are today. It's just and in the world that we live in, uh, for better or worse, it's not only do you have tragedies happening locally, but then you get to
Mhm.
hear about all the other tragedies that
Mhm.
get to make you even more worrisome.
Mhm.
So it just seems like to me, it just seemed like a, a area or a group of people that just desperately needed
Yeah.
that desperately need people with the answers, or at least because they're looking for answers. So that's why I want
Yeah.
to be able to help them and guide them along because people just popped into my mind, like Jordan Peterson
Yeah. Love
uh,
him.
is really popular with young men
Mhm.
because of the ideas that he promotes. Um, I think Jocko Willink is similar. Um, jo- uh, Joe Rogan, very popular
Mhm.
because he's sitting
Mhm.
there having ideas and
Right.
fleshing them out and talking them out. And those are some of the most, and plenty more. Those are the most popular people in the world to listen to because they're actually talking about real issues.
Real issues. Yep.
Um, and I know of a few Christian YouTube channels that are doing that, and they're growing because that's what
Mhm.
people are actually looking for. Uh,
Right. They're
in the
hungry.
but in the church, there's not a whole lot of applied theology. There's just I don't know, I guess just regular theology, which is great, but how do you apply it to our lives?
Right.
How do we
Right.
take it in and, you know, go when I go to work on Monday or Tuesday or whatever, what do I do with it?
Right. Right. Yeah, and that's important, right? I like, I don't know if you know the YouTuber Mike Winger.
Oh,
Mike
yeah.
Winger, yeah, he's pretty awesome, and he does that a lot. He tries to apply what he's teaching you with
Mhm.
what a life scenario would be. So if he's teaching you about biblical marriage, he teaches you like why that's practical, why how you can
Mhm.
live that out practically. And I like that idea too. And to your point, I also realize that those YouTube channels are growing because people are hungry. You
Mhm.
know, I think there's just too much TikToking out there and too
Yeah.
much negativity or too much beating each other up, whether you're conservative, whether you're not, whether you're black, whether you're white, whether you're this, whether you're that. And we're just human. And God never wanted us to separate ourselves the way that this world has been separating itself. So I'm
Mhm.
really glad that you're basically trying to block that type of thought process or behavior, right? Which is a big job, Casey. It's a
Yeah.
big job, but it's worth it. You know why? Because your daughter is the following generation, right? Your child is the following generation. You said daughter, right? You have a daughter?
No, son, but
Oh,
yeah.
son. Oh, you said 4-month-old. That's right. Yeah. So your son is the following generation, right?
Mhm.
So you can start making impact in
Mhm.
lives now. So for the next generation and the next generation and so on, right?
Yeah.
And it may be that God is calling you this just for a season. You may do
Mhm.
this for, a season with the youth and then decide, now I'm going to do the parenting, or now I'm going to do the, innovators, or now I'm going to do
Yeah.
whatever. The whole point is you have to stand your ground in your faith system and what you believe. Keep learning and growing, because you will never reach the end, right?
Right.
We are growing always. We are learning about God always. He's just amazing, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I love that you're doing that. And I love that you're an expert at failure. I hope that you keep failing in a good
Yeah.
way. Because to me, failure is feedback. And the more
Mhm.
failure you have, the more feedback you have to make yourself
Yeah.
even better. Right. So
Right.
where do you envision this? I know that you said Les Brown earlier, but what are you envisioning with all of this innovation and all of this stuff that you're doing now and pouring into kids? And what do you think Casey looks like in the future? What does that look like to you?
Yeah. So personally, the biggest things that go through my brain are I want to inspire. Um, so I'm through all those things that I've talked about.
Mhm,
I my path has been mostly an unconventional path.
mhm.
Uh, I went to college and I dropped out of college. Then I went and worked in the film industry and horse racing and just all the weird jobs. I'm really good at weird jobs.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
cool though.
and and, and so I want, and then as well on top of the growing anti-Christian climate, I'm also a Christian, and so I want to be able to sort of be a uh, I don't know if a beacon is the right word, but I want to inspire kids to, if they want to go to college, all that's great,
Mhm.
but that they don't have to be scared of just pursuing what is right for them.
Mm, mm.
And I have two parents that both my parents are teachers. So not
Wow.
going to school, and I'm the youngest of four. So I was the first of four to not want to go to school.
Uh-oh.
Uh, and so it took me a while to actually just break that mold.
Right.
Uh, and so I just wanted to help others manage this idea of moving outside of what the cultural norms are
Mhm,
and where it's going.
mhm,
Because
mhm.
as far as our society goes, pretty much I think everybody would agree, nobody's loving where we're headed.
Yeah,
No matter what side of the aisle you're on,
yeah,
nobody really loves where we're headed.
I agree.
So helping you make sense of all that and get on a path that is leading to fulfillment,
Mhm,
leading to having a great life. But then also, how do you get there? What does your work look like? What do you find enjoyable?
mhm.
Because I don't want somebody to be stuck in. I think part of having a fulfilling life is doing what makes sense to you, in a sense of like I'm very mechanically minded.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I like to be hands-on. I like to be outside, but currently I have a desk job, so it's like,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm doing things that are mentally hands-on. Like I have to do mechanically minded things. So it's sort of like finding this balancing point of feeding into what you're good at, what you enjoy,
Mm-hmm.
even if it doesn't check off every single box. Because maybe next season, 2 or 3 years from
Right.
now, you're going to be trading some things you like for other things that you like.
Right, right. That's true. And I think as kids too, that they have things they don't like, right? Some kids don't like to go to school, but if they
Mhm,
found something that was passionate to them after school, or
mhm,
that they can work on, so that's a really great way to do it, right? Because the kid doesn't have to be miserable in everything he's doing all the, and it's
mhm,
I like you even alluded to it in the beginning, is the suicide rate is astronomical. It's
mhm.
scary. It's
Yeah,
scary, especially among the youth, right? So
yeah.
what are one of the challenges you see coming up against when you're talking in your groups or with youth anywhere? Like what's the thing that do you see anything like reoccurring that you're like, okay, I really got to focus on this? Do you see anything like that? Like a
So
theme?
um, the one thing I've noticed in the kid, at least the high school aged kids that I've dealt with, is most of that like, what am I going to do with my life?
Okay. They feel
And
lost.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
and so that's sort of why I brought that up, because for me, that was something I wrestled with for
Mhm.
years, uh, because I knew I didn't like going to school, but I still went to a college for a year because that was
Mhm.
sort of was what was
It
expected
was
of me.
expected, yeah.
And so that's what people just, to me, I just hear a lot of like, what do I do with my life? Because that's what I thought as well. Where do I go from here once I graduate high school? What do I do? What college do I go to? What even degree
Right.
do I get? Because I went to a Christian university. I grew up wanting to be an architect. My senior year, I decided I wanted to be a computer scientist for some reason. So I went to a Christian university for computer science, did that the fall semester. Then I said, I don't think I could want to do this. So then I switched to communications because I always wanted to be a public speaker. And then
Right.
I thought, well, I'm not sure about this degree path either. I've got $15,000 worth of debt after 1 year. Maybe I should drop out till I figure it out.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and it took me working different jobs, going to a university. I ended up going back to a community college and got a certificate in architectural drafting. So just
Okay.
drawing, but not architecture. And I was like, oh, look at this. What I wanted to do way back when is actually what I enjoy doing. Um, and but through all of that, I basically was blessed to have been at the ground level of a job that I could have had a career in.
Yeah.
And I transferred 5 or 6 jobs over the course of 4 or 5 years that I think if I stuck with any of them, I could have had a full-time job and had a career and been completely fine
Mhm.
with a myriad of different career paths or, or,
Mhm.
or ways that I got there. And so that kind of gave me the understanding of like the desire to be able to help others navigate that of, okay, is college the right choice? Okay,
Right.
how do you navigate which career do you want to do? Or college isn't the right choice. How do you start figuring out what you're good at so that way you can find a
Mhm.
job that you're good at, and so on.
Yeah.
And so that's that's one of the things I hear the most in the group I'm around is what am I doing with my life? And that's what
Right.
fun to try to help them rationalize that and figure it out. And they're gonna make mistakes. I made
Yeah.
mistakes, but at least kind of get them on that path of sorting it out.
Mhm. And I'll tell you, one of the best things you can also tell them is that you're not stuck in whatever you choose.
Mhm.
And because I'm 50 and I'm on my fourth career, right? Big career. Like I've done things 10 to 15 years, like
Oh yeah.
stuck with medical, stuck with ultrasound. I'm a chef by trade. Now am a coach for women. So it, and they're all, when I knew when the time was done with that career, because God would totally shift my life, and it would just be, I would just be falling right into what it is he wanted me to do next, which was a beautiful gift. It's a beautiful gift when when you're in prayer, when you're reading his word, and you realize that there's some unctions and prompting, to do something bigger and better than what you thought you could even do,
Yeah.
So I think that one of the biggest takeaways with these youth is just letting them know, hey, listen, like you said, you started college and you realized, I don't like that. And you started something else, and I don't know if I want to do that either. And that is okay. And I think that that's one thing that the youth need to know. It's okay. It's not like if you choose to be, this architect, let's just use that as an example,
Yeah.
and you don't like it, that doesn't mean your life is over. You are going to be okay. And I think they need voices like yours, people who have tried a few things and realize that this is always what I wanted to do. Because you said in the beginning, you heard Les Brown, and that's what you wanted to do. Right? It's funny how you took all these different paths to go right back to what it is you wanted to do. Right? Yeah. It's so funny. But you have to. Otherwise, you have no life experience,
Yeah. Right.
So I'm really glad that you're doing that. And, I know that I have a big audience that, I know a lot of them have like teens and kids. I know that because I talk to a lot of female entrepreneurs, parents, things like that. So if they want to maybe connect with you, or at least see what you're putting out there, in your social media to encourage their kids, how do we actually get them to find you, is what I'm trying to say, because I know we're wrapping up, but I really love what you're doing. And I love the way you're trying to impact these kids' lives. And I know you're going to be successful at it, because as much as when you love something and God is in it, you are going to be successful at it. And even if you change one life, Casey, you've done your job, because one life is not just one person. It's everybody they surround themselves with. It's every generation that comes after them. I'm telling you, that's just so powerful. So kudos to you for stepping out into something you really want to do. Good for you.
Thank you. It's been fun so far, and I hope to be able to continue it and flesh it out more.
Yeah, you will. You will. I can't wait. I'm gonna have you here in about, let's give you a couple months to a year, and let's see where you're at. And I want to see what you're doing, because I just know you're gonna do it. I know you are.
To answer your question, how to find me. The kind of simplest thing is, you go to my website. I have a catchphrase, have a great life. I mentioned it. So sort of, you make that an acronym, Haggle, Hagl. So Hagl with Casey, CASEY.com. It takes you to my website, and there will be links to, currently I'm mostly on LinkedIn and Instagram. Kind of whichever. It's fun to be in the professional side of it. I don't know why, but listening to professional people talk is a lot of fun, as well as just the randomness of Instagram.
That's good.
So those are mostly where you can find me posting things. And I try to share topics that I talk about in my codes of self-innovation, which are truth, self-discipline, morality, contentment, and fulfillment. So I try to share things that are helping people think that direction.
Yeah, that's
you don't have to agree with exactly what I'm saying, but I'm just trying to promote those qualities.
You're never going to get everybody to agree, Casey. That's just not going to happen. And you need to be okay. You need to be okay with that. That's okay. Right. So let me ask you. So, what age do you think is appropriate for the kind of content that you're putting out there? What do you think is a good age for people to start following you and seeing what you're putting out?
I'd say probably mostly the high school range.
Okay, great.
Because I do, especially on Instagram, I'll sometimes share something that is not, I wouldn't say inappropriate or anything like that, but it requires a little bit more maturity sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And I know that the high schoolers are starting to experience more life. Yeah. And so it's like on Instagram a lot, I'll see a post that I'll share to my story, and it's me commenting on it. Election stuff. I didn't do a whole lot of election things, but just pointing out some facts, but it requires somebody that's increasing maturity to try to think about them.
Right. Yeah. Well, and somebody who wants to know facts.
Yeah.
Right. Not everybody wants to know facts, Casey. Not everybody wants. I get in trouble a lot. Not everybody likes facts.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so funny. So Casey, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day and being here and really talking about, God and biblical principles and theology and how to pour into the youth. And I think that's a phenomenal thing that you're doing. I know that it's going to be something that's impactful and successful. It already is, because if you're sitting down talking to the youth already, you're already making an impact. I mean, that's just facts, because they could be taking that time that they're with you on, so they could be on social media, they could be playing a video
Yeah.
game, they could be doing anything else, but they're listening to the word. And that to me is powerful. From a mom with kids who know that they've struggled but came right back to God, I know that what you're doing is impactful. So thank you so much, Casey. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I know you mentioned most of your audience is women. Just want to encourage all the women and men, if you're listening to, but since that's most of your demographic, you can pursue a biblical worldview, and women are being attacked nowadays. Stay strong to what the Bible says, and the wisdom that's there, and following those paths and raising your children or working or whatever you're doing in your life. Follow the Lord's methods, because everything people are saying today, that's going to be here and gone.
Yeah.
But the Bible is over 2,000 years old when it was completed. And there's truth there that you can submit your life to and follow and be blessed far beyond what culture wants you to be obedient to.
Man, that's good. I couldn't have said it better myself, Casey. Yes. Love it. Thank you so much. Guys, did you hear him? Please listen to what he's saying, because what he's saying is just a fact. It really is. It's just a fact. It has nothing to do with, oh, I don't believe in God. I believe. It's a fact. Okay. And I'm telling you from a person who has struggled a lot of my life and then found God, and my whole life just flipped, and he has truly shown me and has been with me through all the hard times. And my faith has increased exponentially. I love God with all of my heart, mind, soul, and strength. And I will follow him until the day he takes me home. So thank you so much for being here, Casey. And thank you guys for being here, because I know that you could have done anything else, but you stayed here and you listened to me and Casey. So I'm going to make sure he link all of his information below so that you can follow him and also be encouraged by good stuff being out there in the world. It doesn't all have to be negative. There are good people out here. Thank you so much for being here. This is Neena Perez, Straight Talk, no sugar added. Until next time.